What's up, everybody? It's your boy Phil Porto, photographer, videographer, and educator, and today on the channel, I want to talk about my top 5 wedding poses. Before I start showing my poses, I want to talk about why I wanted to do this video. I feel like when it comes to posing, we overcomplicate it way too much. I feel like a lot of messages I get are, how do you pose your couples? How do they seem so natural? How do you not draw a blank when you're trying to pose your couples? And I think the best way to pose is just to usher them into a place where real moments can happen. I feel like a lot of times we try to construct this perfect scenario, and there is no perfect scenario. You're not trying to curate a staged event. This is not a clothing company. It's not a brand photo shoot. It's a wedding. And you want to make sure that things look natural and they look sincere. So obviously there are some weddings that are a little more high end and their goal is to be on the front of a magazine, or their photos are expected because of who they are to have this Vogue editorial style look to them, and it's a little bit different. I'm not talking about those kind of weddings. I'm talking about, for most of us, the average wedding that we shoot. We're not trying to create and curate staged moments. We're trying to orchestrate opportunities for real moments to happen. Because let's be real, in the time that I've been a professional wedding photographer, a little over 10 years, trends have come and gone like crazy. And there have been so many posing guides that have been out there. Photographers have made a killing off of these, but those poses aren't cool anymore. So then they have to curate new poses or new experiences. And I'm not saying that posing guides are bad, because they're not. If you get out of your head and you make it a little more natural for the couples, that's how you're going to kill it. So the first pose that I always do is something to break the ice. I don't know about you guys, but most of my couples aren't professional models. They don't do this all the time, and they tell me that all the time, that this is not something that they do, and that they hope that I can get the same real moments out of them that I get from other couples. And that is perfect for me. So the first thing I always do is a walking pose. And I know that there's different ways that people do the walking pose. Some will have you pull and push each other and stuff like that. And that's fine. That's not really my thing. What I tend to do is I ask one of them, hey, remind me how long you guys have been together. They tell me and I say, okay, I'm going to put you to the test. I want to see how well you know your bride, or how well you know your groom. By the time they get to me, he need to be laughing their heads off. They're going to either laugh because you're hilarious, or they're going to laugh because you really suck at this. Either way, I don't care. I get my photo, so let's do this. That makes them laugh off the bat, because one of them knows that they're either funny or they're not, and the other person knows that they're either funny or they're not. They remember that that person was either hilarious or that they fell flat on their face, but either way, it's a moment that they then can remember. So it's not just a photo where I got them to do something. It's a photo of movement that was actually real. Second, it's my looking off pose. I have the couple hold hands and then look off in opposite directions. Listen, I get it. Not everybody likes this pose. I remember years ago when I started doing it, one photographer got on her soapbox talking about this pose, and she made a remark like, what are they even looking at? I hate that pose. And honestly, who the frick cares? It looks awesome. Build a bridge and frickin' get over it. Like, that was my response. But whatever, if it's not you, it's not you. But for me, it works. I did say that my whole thing was to curate moments. And that is a moment, because the couples that follow me, they see that pose and they go, oh my gosh, this couple looks awesome. I can't wait till I look like that. And so a lot of my couples will say, oh, I love that Porto pose. You do that with all your couples and they look so cool. I'm getting to do that now. So that is still a moment, because they know that that's something that I do. And listen, I don't do it the same way every time. Sometimes they're at an angle, sometimes they're perfectly centered, sometimes I'm using a prism, sometimes I'm using a different kind of effect, but whatever it is, this couple knows that that's coming, and that point in the wedding becomes a real moment. Number 3, it's the rest on the arm pose. And there's a few different ways you can do this pose. And what I do is I like to start it off with a little bit of a joke. I snuggle up with the groom and show how it's done. And then I make a remark like, hey, you can tap in now. I doubt he's going to like it as much as what I just did, but shoot your shot. And the couple kind of laughs and breaks the ice a little bit more. So I love this pose. And this actually gives the couple an opportunity to just rest in the moment. Because what I tell them to do is most times this is either right after the first look or right after the ceremony. And I say, Take this time to just be still in the moment and realize that this is the person that you are committing your life to. Before all the craziness of the wedding and entertaining guests, soak in that moment that you are about to, or you just did, commit yourself to one another. You found your person and now you can rest in each other's arms. And typically it's a very, very sweet moment. Sometimes the couple feels a little bit awkward at first, and even that's a good moment because the photo is sincere laughter. But once they find that comfortability with each other, it's beautiful. So obviously if you're a female photographer and you don't feel comfortable snuggling up with your bride's soon-to-be husband or current husband, what I would suggest is you have her stand where he would be, and then you kind of do that. And the joke is kind of very similar. So it works. Trust me, it works. Number 4 is the snuggle up pose. And obviously there's a few different ways you could do it. You could do it side by side. You could do it one person over the back holding the other one. Either way, I try to pose them in a way that I think is flattering to their bodies. And then what I have them do is not just stand in that pose. I stand in that pose for a second as I talk to them, so I get the still pose. But then I also say, hey, whisper in her ear. And I don't do anything like, hey, whisper in her ear a fart sound or something like that to create a fake moment. What I do is I say, hey, I want you to whisper in her ear one thing that made you go, yeah, this is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. What was that moment? What was that moment where you knew that she was the one? And I allow that moment to happen. And it goes either two ways. One, the person is a jokester and it makes the other person just start to crack up because of the off-putting comment that they whispered in the ear. Or the person is very, very sweet and genuine in that moment, and they say something that can either bring a smile or even bring tears to the other person's eye. And I love that moment because, once again, it's sincere. It's natural. So I'm not just posing them and then telling them to stay there or telling them to do what I told them to do, but I'm allowing the moments to come to them. Number 5, they just got married. Of course I'm going to get a kissing picture, and I want it to be a beautiful, sincere kissing moment. Listen, photographers, this is the one time in life you can tell somebody, hey, I want you guys to passionately make out in front of the camera and not get punched in the face. In any other point in life, you have someone with a camera that tells you to do something like that, you're going to deck them. However, on a wedding day, we get paid to do it. So I don't understand it, but it happens. So get that kissing photo. Let it be sweet. Let it be intimate. Sometimes people are like, but they kiss so fast. Well, that's because you're not directing them. There's a difference between directing them and then claymation molding them. Direct them. Give them guidance. So what I tell them to do is I tell them on the count of 3 to go in for a beautiful, sincere kiss. Forget that I am here. Forget that anyone else is around. And just enjoy that moment and kiss one another gently until I count to 3. And then slowly separate and look at each other. That gives you the actual kiss, that gives you the actual feelings, and then it gives you that sexy, sensual looking photo as they separate and look at one another. It's a beautiful shot. I tell them to kiss each other like they just said or they are about to say yes to their forever person. And I tell them to think about their relationship through the years and allow those feelings and memories to be what they take into that kiss. It winds up being a beautiful moment. So here's what I'm trying to say, people. Whether these are your 5 poses, and you could totally jack these, I don't really care. Whether these are your 5 poses or you have 5 other poses, make them sincere. Make them genuine. Let the couple look at the photos and not just say, man, that's a great photo when they told me to belly laugh on the count of 3 as I walked. Let them actually look at it and say, this is when you made me belly laugh as we walked. Or this is when you and I had our magazine style cover pose and we killed it. Whatever it is that you do for your posing, make sure that the couple can look at it and see themselves in the images. Not that they just see an edit copy, edit paste recipe that you do for everybody. So this is my tips and tricks for 5 poses that I love and that I will continue to do. If you like these poses, take them on. If you have your own, whatever, do it, kill it, but make it real, make it sincere. Until next time, God bless.